great editing is invisible, and it's why you can't stop watching some creators. They use simple editing techniques that pull you in and keep you hooked. But most creators never learn them, and if you don't, viewers will click off early and your channel stops growing. That's why in this video, I'm breaking down 7 editing techniques the best creators use and how you can apply them to your own videos.
You gotta just press record.
Hey, welcome back to Think Media. Nate here. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see new creators make is relying on solely talking head video. They sit down, explain everything with words, but they're neglecting one of the most powerful aspects of video, and that is it's a visual medium first. If you don't back up your words with visuals, your content will feel boring. And the last thing we want to do to our audience is make them feel bored. There's an old film school principle called show, don't tell, and this perfectly applies to YouTube. Just think about it. If you're vlogging at the Grand Canyon, don't just describe it to us with words like, here I am at the Grand Canyon. No, actually show us the landscape, show us those close details, let the visuals do the heavy lifting. When you start to show your audience what you're experiencing, they themselves will feel it too. I think a channel that nails this is Fern. Their videos are packed with visuals, 3D renderings, motion graphics, and visual storytelling that's super engaging and easy to follow. But you don't need to be a 3D artist to pull this off. You can apply the same principle at any level. If you're just starting out and maybe you're a beginner, I would recommend having stock footage or B-roll to reinforce what you are saying. If I'm showing a product like a camera and I'm talking about the handheld experience, I actually want to show off a clip of me demonstrating that. And that leads to a more tactile experience as if the viewer can feel it themselves. And then stepping into the more advanced side of visual storytelling, we have custom graphics, animations, or even acting out in front of the camera to bring your video to life. When you start showing instead of just telling, your videos stop feeling like lectures and feel more like experiences. They're more memorable, more fun to watch, and ultimately that's what keeps people hooked. Another way to reinforce your message is with text. We are naturally drawn to read text, whether it is on a screen or in real life. It can be a really powerful way to keep people engaged with your video. However, too much text on screen can be distracting and overwhelming. The power comes from keeping it simple and only emphasizing words or ideas that matter most. I think a creator that does this extremely well is Johnny Harris. He uses text in such a clever way, like highlighting a few keywords on a newspaper article or even on a screenshot. It instantly pulls your attention on what matters most and makes his message extremely clear. If you want to create this highlighter effect yourself, after you place your text, search for a solid color and place that on top of your text. Then you want to use the crop tool so it just fits over the word you want to highlight. Then you can reduce the transparency so you can still see the text. And then I'm going to add an edge wipe transition so it animates on almost like we're highlighting it in real life. It is such a simple move, but it makes your message easier to digest and way more memorable. Now, anytime you add text or graphics to your video, the biggest mistake is leaving them static. When text just suddenly pops up on screen without any movement, it can look pretty amateur, unless you're doing it for comedic effect. But typically we want to make those elements feel alive, and we can do that with animations. That could be as simple as animating text so it slides on or pops up into frame rather than just appearing. You could also add subtle motion to graphics or logos so they don't just feel frozen. You can also use transitions on your B-roll to go from shot to shot very smoothly. And Resolve this is actually pretty easy to do. They have built-in animation presets, and one of my go-tos is this push animation. You can apply this to text or B-roll, and this creates a very smooth sliding transition. If you want more control, you can always keyframe your positions and scale, but this can be really cumbersome and fiddly. And so to make my life a little bit easier, there is this plugin called Magic Animate by Mr. Alex Tech, which comes with a bunch of polished presets for animated text, logos, or graphics. One of my favorites is this zoom in preset that I use all the time when it comes to logos appearing on screen. But applying these subtle little animations when it comes to text, either having it floating around, just adds so much more to your elements and brings them to life. One of the biggest mistakes almost everyone makes when editing is leaving in too much fluff. This could be long pauses, filler words like ums, or even full tangents that don't really add value to the video. And while this may seem like a small thing, like a second here or there, that starts to build up and viewers feel like the video drags, they start to lose patience, and as a result, your retention graph starts to tank. One example of a video that I edited was Sean teaching on what he would do if he started YouTube over. His raw video was close to 20 minutes, but to be honest, there was a lot of fluff in the video that really didn't need to be in there. So after trimming and cutting things down, I got it down to a 7-minute video, and that shorter version was way more engaging, and as a result, it got a ton of views. So the reminder when it comes to editing is to cut out anything that doesn't belong in the video. If you tend to ramble and you give 2 or 3 examples of what you're talking about, chances there are one example that is really strong, and so you can cut out the rest. But pacing isn't just about getting your video as concisely as possible, it's all about balance. You don't want to feel like your video is rushing or just have this long spew of information that it starts to feel monotonous. So after I cut down my video, I always like to go back and add small breaths or pauses where I really want the message to sink in. So having this balance between a super fast, concise edit and then adding in a little bit of breath and pause can make our video both concise and easy to follow. Now, cutting out all this fluff by hand can absolutely take forever, so it's worth using some tools that actually speed up this tedious part of editing. One of my favorites is today's sponsor, Gling. It's a tool that allows you to upload your A-roll or talking head video, and with one click, it'll cut out the silences, filler words, and bad takes and gives you a rough cut of your video. What I love about this is you can edit your video like a Word document. So rather than listening through the same take over and over, I can clearly see what needs to be edited and cut it out. Then once you're happy with your edit, you can export it out to a program like Resolve or Final Cut with all your cuts ready to go, and you still have full creative control if you want to make tweaks later on. Gling is a tool that I literally use on every single video, and so I can't recommend it enough. If you want to try it out for free, check out the link in the description down below and see how much time Gling AI can save you. Now, we've already done a lot to improve the engagement of our videos, but these next few tips can really take it to that next level. The first of which is no matter how good your setup looks, your A-roll or talking headshot can be a little bit boring and static. And one way you can improve this, and you might have already seen it in this video, is adding in camera movement into your videos. Now you could do this physically by actually moving the camera when you shoot, but since we're talking about editing in this video, let's focus on doing it digitally. Adding in digital camera moves can really change the dynamic of your video. For example, I love to do a push-in animation anytime I want to emphasize on a point. It's like you're literally leaning in to listen. Of course, you can also add digital camera movement to just about anything, a screenshot, screen recording, or B-roll. You can be as subtle or as extreme as you like. Maybe you want a slow zoom in or zoom out, or maybe you want a crash zoom on a specific detail. One of the easiest ways to add movement is with Resolve's dynamic zoom feature. You just set your in and out points, decide on how much you want it to zoom, and Resolve automatically animates it over the clip's duration. If you want more control, like zooming in on a specific part of the frame and holding, you want to use keyframes. It takes more time, but it gives you more precision. Personally, I like using a plugin called Magic Zoom by, again, Mr. Alex Tech. It gives you buttery smooth ramped zoom ins or zoom outs with way less effort, which is especially handy for screen recordings anytime I want to highlight something specific. Another plugin that I like to use to do some 3D camera moves is MCamRig by Motion VFX. I love using this anytime I want to show off a YouTube channel page, and that 3-dimensional quality really does add a lot compared to just a traditional 2D animation. And the crazy part is this tool is also free, so if you want to check out any of the resources I talk about in this video, check out all the links in the description down below. Even if you've been making videos for a while, there's a chance you might be making a mistake that you don't realize. And it's one of the biggest killers of retention: monotony. If you sit on the same talking head shot for 30 seconds straight, viewers are going to tune out. Even if your information is solid, their brains are just going to get bored. To keep people engaged, you have to break that pattern. Our brains are wired to notice change, so when you add in something unexpected, it makes them refocus on what's happening. A few practical ways to do this is you could add in a meme or funny clip to add in some humor, switching to a different camera angle, or filming in a new location to freshen things up. I love to go outside to kind of break the monotony of being in studio. Another powerful way to break that pattern is a quote or a clip from someone else. Hearing a different voice adds so much variety to the audio experience of your video. Now, the more you edit, the more you'll start to feel where a viewer might lose focus. One trick that I've learned is to watch my video back, and anytime I feel the urge to look away, that's probably a good time to add in a pattern interruption. But here's the thing, none of these tricks really reach their full potential without this last element, and that is sound design. Most creators ignore sound design, but sound makes up 50% of your video. You can have the best visuals in the world, but without the right audio, your edits will always feel flat. A few common ways I use sound effects is adding in a pop sound effect when text or an image appears, a chalk or marker sound effect underlining text, and also using cinematic elements like risers, bass hits, or swooshes to emphasize key moments. If you want to go deeper on this, I actually have a full video breaking down sound design for creators. You can click or tap the screen right here to watch that next.